I've just nipped out while the family are doing their various bits of homework and jobs, and I'm going to take you up to the Roaches, just on the outside of Leek in the Staffordshire Moorlands where we live. And it's absolutely beautiful, and it's part of the Peak District. And if you don't know this area and you ever come and visit me, I'm going to take you to this area because it will leave you with a lasting impression of our typical English countryside scene. And this is the thing about living in an area like this, is we've just left the town and we are literally in the countryside within 2 minutes in the car. It's absolutely amazing. I always feel a little bit sorry for people that live in the centre of a city like, you know, Manchester or Birmingham or London. You know, and some of the kids there just don't get the experience of being able to nip into the countryside. In fact, you know, there are kids in city centres who live in some of these tall high-rise flats that just never get to go to a farm or never get to go into the countryside, and often for weeks on end don't get to put their bare feet on proper turf, you know, proper grass. But you know, there are children that just don't know where some of the food stuff that we consume come from, and I think it's important to kind of know literally the grassroots of everything that we eat, you know, where it comes from, how it's grown, how it's treated, you know, before it gets on your plate. If ever you do get the opportunity to come up to the Roaches, there's loads of little bed and breakfasts and bunkhouses and little farmhouses that you can get a room for the night, you know, fairly inexpensively, you know, 50, 60 pounds. That's where we're heading to. A couple of years ago there was a really big fire up here, and it took out hundreds of acres of the moorlands. Because one of the problems is underneath the ground, it's actually peat, and peat burns like coal. Peat's been formed over thousands of years, and it's a fossil fuel, and it contains lots of energy. So when you burn it, it's a really efficient fuel. And the only reason why we moved off peat and onto more modern fuels is because it was expensive to extract from the ground. But since that fire, we've got these big signs everywhere on the fences and gates, but also on this big rock here. There's an image of the fire that was here, and it said, all started with a barbecue, a campfire, a cigarette or a glass bottle. Don't be blamed for the flames. This is the Don Memorial Hut. It's a tiny little building. It must be really cold. I don't think there's any heating, but the climbers stay in there and you can actually rent it. And it's right at the base of this whole cliff face, tucked away in this dark corner under the trees. Must be quite an experience if you were a young climber. Pretty good from here, but it's going to be even better when we get to the top. fuel I bought with me, some Brazil nuts and some walnuts. And these are packed with omega-3s, but they're polyunsaturated omega-3s. So everyone thinks that omega-3s come from fish life, you know, oily fish. But actually, the alpha-linolenic acid, which is the most important of the omega-3s, can only come from the plant world, in particular like flaxseed and walnuts. So the fat that's in these is really protective for your circulation and your heart and immunity, and they're antioxidants, but also help to lower the LDLs, which is the low density lipoproteins, which is the really bad cholesterol. So eating plenty of these every day not only gives you energy in form of fat, healthy fats, but also helps your immunity. And the other fuel I got with me is Brazil nuts, again packed full of healthy fats and oils, the type of fats that you can eat without thinking you're going to clog up your arteries. But the problem with Brazil nuts is that you can only have 4 or 5 a day because they've got selenium. And selenium is really good for thyroid function and the formation of your DNA, which is your natural blueprint. But if you have too many, you'll get selenosis and your teeth will go discoloured and you'll start to lose your hair. Now, I've eaten tons of these in the past, so maybe that explains why I'm losing a little bit of hair. That was really lovely. It's 15 minutes from home. I was up there for an hour. It was well worth making the effort. And it's so good and so therapeutic. And I really feel as though that's set me up now for a great week.